In our first story, government has suspended the concessionary agreement with Power Distribution Services, PDS, bringing back in the interim Electricity Company of Ghana to be in full control of power distribution in the country. Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma, who broke the news on PM Express, said the decision was taken after the government detected fundamental and material breaches of PDS's obligation in the provision of payment securities for the transaction, which have since been discovered upon further due diligence. He was speaking to Evans Mensah.
We have detected some anomalies specific to the guarantees that were issued by the consortium of PDS. Okay. And our first obligation is to secure the assets, particularly the cash assets, etc. Okay. And suspend.
Let's break this down, because you say guarantees. People are listening and watching. What it means is that they came and said we have guarantees to provide the monies and investments. Correct?
Yes.
To bring also, to deal with the sector.
Yes, and also the assets that we were handing over to them. And the risk that was involved, they provided some guarantees for that through a number of insurance companies. We have, through due diligence, detected that there are issues with those guarantees that were provided.
So as in what? They were not available?
Well,
they misled us?
They were not valid. Okay.
That's misleading.
Well, it is being investigated currently, so I won't proceed to call it so. They were not valid, and as a result, we have taken a fair step to secure the assets of the state by suspending the concession agreement and ensuring that the assets are secured. The Energy Commission has also quickly moved to revoke their distribution license and allow ECG to literally go back to work and perform on that side while we go into a full-scale inquiry into the validity of.
So as we speak tonight, ECG is back in control of the whole sector.
Of the distribution sector. PDS is suspended. That's the statement we just issued.
Okay, but you missed the, how do we miss that? You said we now
there are conditions precedent, then there's due diligence, even before.
The due diligence is what led to this.
Alerted us.
But why didn't you do that before?
Because there are conditions precedent and then there are conditions subsequent. Okay. So in the beginning, there are a number of things, and also because of the deadline that we had at the time, there are a number of things that they were supposed to meet, which they did. And then it goes through a due diligence phase. It is this due diligence that has alerted us to the fact that the validity of some of the guarantees are in question, and we've moved, therefore, to suspend it pending a full-scale inquiry.
Okay.
And one person who could have comprehensive knowledge on some of these agreements, especially the concession agreement, is Edward Bauer. He was a former communication consultant for the Ministry of Energy, but currently the Member of Parliament for Bongo. He will be in the studio alongside Mr. Ifa is a Member of Parliament for the Kuma Dobrin Brakwa constituency, but also a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. But moving on, the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Kwejo Usuefriye, says his outfit is committed to ensuring that dealers in Rosewood comply with the ban on the endangered species. He has also justified the abrupt end of trial of the Chinese woman, Helen Huang, who was arrested whilst transporting the commodity in the northern region weeks after the ban was announced. In an interview with JoyNews, Mr. Usuefriye argued that instead of blaming government, Ghanaians must commend the administration for deporting the illegal rosewood dealer back to China.
The woman is in court. You have another agency of government that is also interested by saying that the immigration people and customs are saying that that woman will have an interest in her because she appears not to have the requisite document to come to Ghana. And before you could say that, they have, deported the person from Ghana. How do you blame it on Forestry Commission or blame it on government? Because, like I said, deportation is also part of a process, part of a punishment. So for me, government is committed, government is doing its bit. And from time to time, we arrest people. If they are Ghanaians, we prosecute them here.
Sir John, the deportation bit still poses a challenge to some people who are in this fight against...
To you or to some people?
Those in the area of fighting,
but who are fighting?
The illegal deportation.
We are there. I don't have a problem with that. Look,
we have Ghanaians.
I'm telling you that deportation is also a punishment. Because I'm sure this woman would have loved to be here. And that he would have gone to court and maybe fined. You don't assume that a judge would imprison the person. So what is the interest that you say that those people who are fighting it are not happy? I am fighting it I am satisfied that the punishment that she got by being deported is appropriate in the circumstance, because we will not allow foreigners to come and stay in this country and then, plunder our resources like we have.
More reason why I said that we should have given her a taste of the country's laws and how hard it bites.
What is the taste of the country's laws? Part of the laws of this country is to deport people if they are illegal. And so for me, having received that taste, how to put it, is part of how hard our laws bite. In fact, if she had not been deported, I would have had a problem, because then it means our laws are like toothless bulldogs. They can bark, they cannot bite. But this time we have demonstrated that our laws bite. They have teeth, they bark and bite. And that should be, but government should be commended.
Kojo Usrefriye is the Chief Executive for the Forestry Commission. Now, let's take you to the Ashanti region next. And many children are abandoning school at Nsonyameye in the Asante Achim North district of the region due to poor infrastructure at the local primary school. The school or the children have rather chosen to go to the farm with their parents instead of learning in an old and dilapidated classroom. JoyNews checks reveal a lot of teachers are reluctant to also go to work. Authorities have since combined classes amid fears that the school could be shut down entirely if the situation persists. Ohiminteria has more.
Nsonyameye DA Basic School was established by Community Initiative 38 years ago. Contributions from poor peasant and settler farmers saw the provision of what was supposed to be a temporary shed, which has now become permanent. It is one of the basic schools yet to see any effort by government to improve infrastructure in the Asante Achim North district. Erosion has eaten away the dwarf wall on which the wooden structure stands, and the cement floors of the classrooms have peeled off. Teachers and pupils are forced out to seek refuge in nearby houses when it rains. Annual enrollment of average 100 has dropped to just over 50. 5 primary classes and kindergarten have combined as a result. Kojodia is head teacher.
Because of lack of facilities, some of the pupils, when they come, because of the heat, some of them will be sleeping whilst teaching and learning is ongoing. They will be sleeping. Some also they don't attend school, because they will even tell us, even we the teachers, that even our school is even not nice. Yes, so it discourages them from coming to school. So they say when they compare other schools, the way they see the blocks out, the classroom blocks are, and they come here sitting under these wooden structures and all this, it doesn't encourage them even to come to the school. So it has been a challenge. Sometimes the place can be flooded. All the surroundings of the classroom, every place can be flooded. And so you will be stuck inside, and the water will also be flashing inside the classroom. Yeah, when it rains and the wind is blowing, you will be stuck inside, and the flashes of the rain will be coming inside. So in fact, the children cannot even open their books and write.
District Education Directorate acknowledges the state of the school building at Nsonyameye is a challenge. And as Kojo Afari is District Director.
Nsonyameye is one community that has not seen any school structure. The weak pavilion they have there was constructed by the local people themselves using local materials. And so each time it threatens to rain, these children have to be sent home because the pavilion has not been walled. Yes, so it is one community that is waiting to see a school structure constructed by the central government. And so this deficit is seriously affecting performance, affecting school enrollment, affecting retention of people in school. So that's the general problem we are facing as far as Nsonyameye is concerned.
Assemblyman for the area, Peter Abaji, says budgetary allocation and approval have repeatedly been done for years without execution for no reason.
We have written a lot of letters to NGOs and then to the district assembly, and every year this school, Nsonyameye school, normally reflects in our budget, but there's nothing, no action. So it has been a very big problem for us. So I don't really know. I don't know. If not God, I don't know. I don't know when Asante North District Assembly will consider Nsunyameye to be part of the district, to put up a building for the keys. And as you are seeing the status of the school, imagine a school like this, they don't have school feeding.
From Kumasi for Joy News, Ohiminteria reporting.
And in the central regional capital of Cape Coast, the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives on Tuesday visited the Cape Coast and Elmina castles to commemorate the 400th year since enslaved people were forced to leave their homeland and sent to the United States. Nancy Pelosi is part of a delegation comprising members of the Congressional Black Caucus who will pay homage to the sacrifices of our African ancestors building the United States. The group's visit forms part of the Year of Return Ghana 2019 celebrations, a major landmark marketing campaign targeting African Americans and members of the diaspora to mark 400 years of the first enslaved African arriving in Jamestown, Virginia. Richard Kwejonya traveled with her and has come through with this report.
The visit of the Speaker of the U.S. Congress, Nancy Pelosi, and today she is at the Elmina Castle. From here, she will proceed to the Cape Coast Castle. Her visit mainly is about the commemoration of the 400th year of the transatlantic slave trade.
Karen Bass, chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, outlined the rationale for their visit.
I would like to state our mission for being here. We are being led by the most powerful woman in the United States government and the most powerful African American in the United States government. And we come here today in the year of the return, the 400th anniversary from our arrival on the shores of America. We come here to the castle, or as African Americans, we refer to the dungeons, to see what happened to our ancestors before they left here and embarked on the treacherous journey to the United States, in which they began a period of 250 years of enslavement.
The Omahin of Edna traditional area, Nana Kojo has also been speaking. He has made several requests put before the U.S. House of Representatives Speaker, and among them he said that the current government is tackling some social intervention policies, including education, and so they should come and support them, but they would appreciate if a reciprocal visit would be made to the U.S. so that they will have further interaction.
His remarks in Fanti were relayed to the delegation in English by the Central Regional Minister Kwame Duncan.
What happened in the past was not the best, was not the one that could promote humanity. And so in this period where we are taking the opportunity to remember and reflect on enslavement, we led this powerful delegation to be here and to make a profound statement to the rest of the world that you and many others like you abhor and condemn what happened. That you are here also to make a statement that we should, even in this forum, reflect more on how we can project from this sordid past to be able to build stronger bonds of friendship and relationships going forward.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi said it is the appropriate and befitting time for the U.S. House of Representatives to come here to pay their homage for the sacrifices the Africans made.
On behalf of our delegation, I want to extend thank you for the beautiful reception. You have warmed our hearts with your hospitality. You have touched our soul with the privilege of visiting this place. Thank you so much. It is now part of all of our heritage. On behalf of our delegation, I want to extend the bowl of the Congress of the United States with the invitation to visit us there soon.
She's been leading the delegation that includes 12 members of the Congressional Black Caucus who will return to the African continent as members of the United States Congress. Richard Kwejonya, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Back here in Accra, despite government's claim that the recent National Media Commission ruling on the JoyNews Malaysia in the Heart of the Nation documentary vindicates its argument that the station aired, questions continue to remain as to what becomes of those who trespass the former seat of government. Well, government maintains that the NMC in the ruling sustained the state's argument that the documentary had a misleading advertisement and also showed background footage that was unrelated to the activities of the DI group. JoyNews has already stated, though it accepts the ruling, it disagrees. JoyNews editor Fifi Kumson in the following report echoes questions left unanswered about sanctions for those who allow the commander Nana Rekon Ado, alias Choman, and his team of young men and women who operated at the castle.
In the documentary, JoyNews established the presence of the group operating illegally at the former seat of government. The state did not contest this, except to say that the people were
a group of young men and women dressed up in white shirts and black suits, converging at the castle Osu in the belief that jobs will be found for them.
Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma, at a news conference in March this year, indicated that the leader, Nana Ureko Ado, also known as Choman, was appointed to retrieve vehicles from appointees of the erstwhile Mahama administration, finished in 2018, but decided to operate his own business from the castle.
After the conclusion of the work of the task force in August 2018, he subsequently converted the office allocated to him into a private business office for the stated purposes of his company.
Mr. Oponkroma said the situation was handled immediately it was discovered.
But it was quickly dealt with in October 2018 when he was evicted from the premises by a joint operation involving personnel of the National Security Secretariat and the Ghana Police Service.
But that's the problem. The government does not talk about who took responsibility and whether anyone has been sanctioned for allowing an unregistered security company to run from the Osu Castle. Here is private legal practitioner Ace Ankoma speaking on the matter earlier this year. He said the eviction was not enough.
Eviction means you can go and sin no more. But this is these guys on the face of it are as guilty as sin. But they evicted and they have the temerity, impudence, audacity to return to the prime real estate, the old slave fort, and then they have to be re-evicted. And so, you see, that's my problem. The law just does not work in this country.
Mr. Ankuma said the state must have ensured the prosecution of the people.
This is their own clear admission that they are operating to the extent that they don't have a license.
How do you arrest a group you evicted and may not know where they are?
Well, you evicted and they came back. And they only yesterday or 2 days ago went back to re-evict. Who did they evict? They didn't evict chairs and tables. They evicted people. There should not have been eviction. There should have been an arrest.
But this is critical when in government's own statement, signed and read by Mr. Oponkroma, the people were not permitted to operate at the state facility. He said,
admittedly, this should not have been allowed to happen in the first place.
Former GFA spokesperson Randy Abe said someone must take responsibility for the operation of the group at the castle.
Is anybody being held responsible? So now the focus is on, are they militia? They're not. Do they have a disposition to violence? They are not. But the truth of the matter is that, look, so if you have a situation where there's a running battle between a group and the national security, and on 3 occasions, the national security is unable to kick them out, and that it has to take a reinforcement, joint effort. It cannot be just a group of some ideal unemployed young men and women. It cannot be.
But in all this, the narrative by government has been about nomenclature, how the people should be called, vigilante or militia, but very silent on the prosecution of the group or sanction for whoever's negligence led to the occupation of the group at the castle.
Well, that's it for the latest run-up of news tidbits for the morning on the show. But we have more news. We'll look at what is dominating the front and the back pages of the various dailies we have in the studio. Stay with us. Myself, Mawabi Osobwaje, and Koje Yankson will do all these in a bit. Stay with us.